Thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. If you haven't heard, the 3M lawsuit for hearing loss and tinnitus has reached a settlement for this mass tort litigation, and it's $6 billion as far as we know so far. And the question now is, well, how much is going to be paid out to the individual veterans, and how many veterans are actually involved in this litigation? So I found an article. I'm going to read through that for you. I'll give you my 2 cents, and we'll just kind of keep you up to date as we move forward with this whole ordeal with 3M. So with that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. And if you're not a member, consider joining. It does help the channel immensely, and it helps me find you in the comments because you get the little item. I don't know. I call it something different every time, right? So the little circle thing with the star next to your name helps me find you quicker in the comments section. So with that, let's jump into it. The headline on this article, which is similar to many, is 3M to pay $6 billion to settle hearing loss lawsuits over military earplugs. It's those dual-ended earplugs. It's kind of like an earplug on each side, different colors, so you could turn them. Says here that there's more than 300,000 complaints were submitted about earplugs that allegedly failed to protect veterans from hearing loss. So there's more than 300,000 being represented by attorneys. I would venture to guess that if it was over 350,000, they would say over 350, probably rounding in 50,000 or maybe even 25,000 increments. So it's safe to say that it's somewhere in the lower 300,000s range for that $6 billion. So jumping into it, let's read the article, and I'll kind of give my little 2 cents again along the way to try to figure out how much are we going to be getting individually, and if there's any more nuggets of information in here. So manufacturing giant 3M will pay $6 billion to settle hundreds of thousands of claims brought by military veterans and service members who said its earplugs caused hearing loss during their service. This also includes tinnitus, for those that don't know. So the deal announced Tuesday, a couple days ago, or actually yesterday, resolves one of the largest mass torts in U.S. history. More than 300,000 claims were submitted on behalf of plaintiffs who alleged the earplugs could loosen in the ear, reducing their effectiveness and leaving the user vulnerable to hearing loss or tinnitus, which is a continuous ringing or buzzing sound in the ears, which I believe that tinnitus is the number one VA related claim. So with that, let's stop right there for a second. And this litigation was what they call a mass tort. It's kind of like a class action, but with much higher payouts individually. So a lot of class actions, you're getting less than $50. So this is a bigger deal as a mass tort classification, and it is not. It does not have anything to do with the VA. So it has zero effects on any claims that you're filing with the VA for hearing loss or tinnitus. It has zero effect to anything with regard to your VA process. It is a completely separate issue. It is litigation. It's a lawsuit against the manufacturer 3M. That's it. So you could have your representation by a lawyer and be involved in the mass tort litigation, right? And receive money for damages from that settlement. And you can also file a claim with the VA for your hearing loss, your tinnitus, and what have you. So just to kind of give a little, umbrella of kind of how that's all working out. So let's move on. This historic agreement represents a tremendous victory for the thousands of men and women who bravely served our country and returned home with life-altering hearing injuries, attorneys for the plaintiff said in a joint statement. The settlement was made without admission of liability, and the company said in its Tuesday announcement, 3M contends its earplugs are safe and effective when used properly. The case emerged from a 2016 whistleblower lawsuit filed by Moldex Metric, a rival earplug maker, on behalf of the U.S. government. It alleged that the earplugs called CAE V2 had a known defect that made them unsafe. The earplugs were originally manufactured by, I don't even know how to say it. It looks like Aero, kind of. AEARO. Aero, whatever. Technologies, which 3M acquired in 2008. The U.S. military purchased the earplugs from 2003 to 2015, according to court filings. In 2018, 3M agreed to pay $9.1 million to the U.S. government to resolve allegations by Moldex Metric that the earplugs were defective, but it did not admit liability. Tuesday's agreement resolves another major legal case for 3M, and this is spanning dozens of industries. It's known for common household items, Scotch tape, blah, 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 N95, KN95 masks. So it's just talking about other lawsuits that they're currently in. So I'm not going to dive into that because I'm trying to stay focused on the earplug litigation. So now we have $6 million. Now the question is how much is going to be coming out of that $6 billion. Out of that $6 billion, how much will be designated toward attorney fees, right? Are we looking at 33%? Are we looking at 50%? So that's a number that we need to still figure out. I'll keep my eyes open and do some digging as well. As a worst case scenario, I would say 50% is probably safe. So then you got 50% of that amount. Then what you're going to be doing is you're going to have $3 billion that is now going to be divided amongst the 300,000 plus claimants. Now, it's not going to be a dollar for dollar, everybody gets the same amount. There's going to be a sliding scale. There will be this person's situation is much worse than this person's situation, so therefore they're going to receive different amounts. So, for example, somebody who has minor tinnitus, now with the VA, on the VA's world, tinnitus is tinnitus, right? So you have it or you don't. And it's a 10% rating on the VA side. So on the litigation side here, let's say that the tinnitus is not that bad. It's got no other issues. You have a little bit of buzzing and ringing and it kind of comes and goes. That's probably going to be your lower end. Then you're going to have the people who have maybe some sort of substantial hearing loss. And I mean, it has to be corrected with a hearing aid. And without the hearing aid, maybe your speech is affected and you talk, differently because you can't hear, right? So that's going to be your upper end with the combination of having, in addition to that hearing, having maybe tinnitus. Now, let me throw in something for those that are involved in this. If you have tinnitus, but not hearing loss, at least hearing loss that's substantial enough for any sort of claim, because let's face it, hearing is not a straight line thing. Hearing is, there's a range. So your range, you're either in your range or you're not in your range. You could be at the lower end of your range and have some little bit of hearing loss, but you're still within the acceptable range. And back to the VA's world, the VA has a very strict rating schedule for VA hearing loss compensation claims. But I want to throw out there to individuals that what you're trying to exhibit here in this litigation for payment specifically is how the hearing damage has affected you. Now, let's just throw out an example. Let's say that you have tinnitus. Let's say that tinnitus is not minor. Let's say that it's pretty annoying, pretty bad, and at times it's really bad. And let's say that triggers maybe migraine headaches, or maybe that triggers you to have bouts of sleeplessness, insomnia, right? These are things that if you are not diagnosed for today, you better go get diagnosed like now. for those things and connect that to your tinnitus, right? My tinnitus is causing me migraines. My tinnitus is causing me sleepless nights, insomnia. And get diagnosed for those things so that way you can present a more effective ability, you'll be more effective as you're explaining the effects of having these hearing issues, right? I can't think of a good way to say it. So the bottom line, and I know you guys get it. So the bottom line is that you need to exhibit how bad your hearing injury is. And this is how you can demonstrate that, right? By showing that you have, in the VA's world, secondary conditions due to that. So if you have that already, that's great. You can utilize that. If you don't already have that, here's the eye-opener for you, right? If you have tinnitus, service-connected, but you have migraines and insomnia due to tinnitus that's not service-connected, go to the doctor, get diagnosed, have it show as a secondary, because of this, I have this, and file those claims with the VA. You can use those same diagnoses that you used for your VA claim secondaries for your lawyers to show that these are cascading effects or secondary conditions due to your hearing damage caused by the 3M earplugs. So with that, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.